let's oh, nice. That was actually really fast. Make sure the audio is going through. I haven't gone live in a while. Real quick. Nice. Okay, cool. It is. Sweet. Let's move on then. So, no countdown or anything like that. Just going right into it. For anyone that might be watching the VOD, I haven't streamed in like a year, so I don't know if anyone's gonna be here. But for anyone who might be watching this VOD, basically, or anyone that's also just watching, thanks for watching. 1, 2, I'm just gonna go through and just kind of give brief thoughts and maybe theorize on what you could do with the different commanders, because there's so many that are being released with this next set and the commander products. I'm covering both the March of the Machines set and the commander products for them. I'm not covering any of the reprints that go into any of the sets. I'm not covering any of the precons themselves, like what the precon's capable of, just specifically like what the commander could do. Maybe we'll touch on the precons a little bit for like the specific commanders, right? Because like the backup mechanic, for example, is something that's new and is only in that precon as far as I'm aware. I don't think it's in the main set or anything or anywhere else. So like maybe we'll touch on that a little bit, but I'm not going to go into super in-depth into that stuff. There's just a lot of stuff, and I thought it'd be fun to cover some of this. So because I'm not going to be able to make a video or make videos on everything, like that's not going to happen. Wizards are just producing too many products to keep up with on that, and I don't have time to make full videos for everything. And I'm going to pronounce all these names wrong. So I guess we'll start off with her. What's the shortcut for this? There we go. Arya, Widow of the Realm. I read a few of these. I don't know what all of these commanders do, but I did read this one. This seemed like just really an awesome Rakdos commander, because it does everything like Rakdos wants to do, right? So sacrifice another creature or artifact, and then it deals damage to target opponent or battle, and you gain X life, where X is the amount of sacrificed permanents and mana value. So we'll just be doing like bombs. You could like really just spam a bunch of rocks and ramp out of control and sacrifice them to fling them at things and then bring them back with the flip side, which at the beginning of combat you can just bring things back. The backside's a little slow. Combat triggers are always slow. That's just kind of how they are. You could have extra combats, but being an artifact deck, if we're focusing on artifacts or combos, like aristocrat gameplay styles have so many combos and loops that you can do. Like there's just a shit ton. Like there's all sorts of death loops that you could utilize here, that you play into, and in the meantime you're just damaging your opponents and just getting the value from that. But you're doing like blood artist loops, you're doing the different artifacts loops, which I had sort of touched on in the Tivit video. Is that how you? No, not Tivit. What was the Trizen, the Infinite? Yeah, him. Like there's some artifact loops we could do. But I think like the fun thing that I would probably do if I was building this would just put in like some value artifacts like Meteor Golem. Like you play Meteor Golem, then you fling it at something, and then you bring it back on the combat and destroy something else, fling it later. Or like fling it right away, doing something else, because we exile it at the beginning of the next end step. It gets haste and we exile it, so we want to sacrifice them again so we can keep recurring them over and over again. So you have all sorts of sacrifice outlets. You keep bringing back Solemn Simulacrum this way. If we had Helm of the Host, we could keep making copies of Arya and keep bringing back more and more things. We couldn't bring back the same thing over and over again. When they go on the stack, you have to choose the target for them. So let's say Solemn Simulacrum's in the graveyard and we have 3 copies of Arya on field. We can't like target Solemn with each trigger of Arya, because when the first one resolves, the other 2 would like fail to find essentially, because the Solemn would be gone and then even if we put it back right back into the graveyard with like Ashnod's Altar or something like that. So we'd have to target different things, but it'd be a fun way to keep bringing back things over and over again. You just need to have like a bunch of sack outlets, your artifacts and creatures. Is there a sack outlet for artifacts? Oh, there is. There's the Ironworks, I think. There's like some artifact where you sacrifice them to make mana. So you could essentially get them back that way too. But yeah, it's just like a really cool aristocrat commander, I think. And I'm excited for like to see people build around. As I know people were like a fan of the original one. I don't remember. How do you say your name? Is that how you say it? Yeah. The original one I actually saw quite often. I never thought it was like that good. Like, or not bad, but like not really super interesting. Because I'm like a huge Teysa Karlov player. I love playing Teysa Karlov. So like when I saw this, I was like, I'd just rather play Teysa. But I saw a lot of people play this card and like just kind of do the loops. And so like instead of using death triggers, it would just be the ETB triggers when the creature comes back and just kill people that way. It's part of like a Blood Artist aspect in the command zone. And it works really well for that. So if like you're doing what's the name of the zombie that you can recur over and over again? Like reassembling skeleton and then Gravecrawler, I think it is. So like that kind of stuff. But this seems like an interesting way to do something like similar, and it kind of expands to artifacts as well, and doing Rakdos with Rakdos loves doing that as well. All right, but moving on to Baral and Zarikev, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm terrible at pronouncing things. I'm going to mess all these up. You may cast spells with lesser mana value that share a card with the type from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, great. Okay. If you cast your first instant sorcery spell, cast a spell with lesser mana value that shares a card type from it with your hand without paying its cost. So it's a storm deck. And then you make Ragavan. If we don't make stuff, it's legendary, right? Yeah. So it's just a storm deck. What other storm commanders are there? There's like Niv Mizzets and stuff. Does this replace any storm commanders? I don't think so. Like the free aspect is nice, but if you're gonna be doing like storm, then you're doing like Veyron and the different Niv Mizzets, and no, not really Locust God. Locust God's like wheels and like weird group hug kind of stuff, right? To make tokens. Is it Storm and Locust? I don't think so. But I mean, like this just seems like cool utility. I think, and it's like cheap too. It's like 3 mana. It gets it out really early, and then you just start spamming out random shit. It has to share a card type too, which is a little restrictive. It's not too bad though. Especially if you're doing like instants, right? Because you could just keep doing rummage spells. Is it a cast trigger? It is a cast trigger. So maybe that won't work as well then. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would break. I don't do a lot of storm stuff, so I'm not sure how viable this would be. The last time I tried storm was Veyron, and it was just like playing solitaire. I didn't have a ton of fun with it. My opponents didn't have a ton of fun with, like, didn't have that much fun with it either. No one really has that much fun. You're just kind of sitting there doing your own thing. So I don't really play it. We shouldn't say that. I'm sure there's plenty of people that find Storm fun. It is very solitaire-like though. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much to say on it. I don't know how like valuable it would be, because like you cast. What's a good example? Like, what are like the various 4-drop rummage spells where it's like discard a card, draw 2 cards, and then make 2 treasures, like that kind of shit. And you cast that. Hopefully have something in your hand to cast like Faithless Looting, and then like rummage like a million spells, have 2 treasures, do it again, that kind of stuff, and just get a ton of value. and then get your storm count up, trigger the other various ways that you win with storm, like Aria of Flame and the Sharknado card. Forgot what it's called. I think there's like 2 Sharknado cards now. I think there's another one that came out. I think in this set actually. Maybe we'll go if I go through these really fast, maybe we'll break into the main set or something. I don't know. But yeah, cool Storm Commander. So this is the Fibblefip thing. This is the Gruul guy, right? I don't know the lore super well for Magic. I'm pretty sure he's like one of the head people of Gruul, or like was the guild leader or something like that. And then the lost Fibblefip. So when it enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card, then discard any number of land cards. When you discard one or more cards this way, it deals twice that much damage to target creature. And then like a protection effect to put it third from the top. That's cool. It's like, would you ever use the protection effect? It's always like, it's like an emergency button if you really don't want to cast it again from the command zone. But you're in Simic. You have so much mana. Why would you care? Like, you can just ramp so hard. And that's especially true if you're a Lands Matters deck, where if you want to play into this first ability, you'd have so many lands in your hand, and then you're playing them from graveyards. So this is just a... Is it a bad Lands Matter commander? Like, when you just run Tameo? Not Tameo. Is it Tameo? Tuvasa? No. Whatever the Simic commander is, like when it enters the battlefield, that person gains a life and draws a card. Starts with a T. I can't remember the name of it right now. Yeah, I don't know why you would run this one specifically, unless you're just like a big fan of it. I think that's what is going to be the theme for a lot of commanders in this set. I don't know, maybe I'm just being a pessimist or a Debbie Downer with things, but in some of the ones that were spoiled, it was like cool. It's like they're really honestly just ripping off Endgame, it feels like. And it's cool to see all the characters come back. Like, don't get me wrong, it's awesome. But a lot of the cards from the set that at least the ones that I had like seen when they were first spoiling these early on, they don't really synergize well with each other. Like, they mash two abilities that are very thematic for the 2 characters it represents, but those 2 abilities don't like match well at all with each other, or like don't really seem to synergize very well, and it's like really weird. So you're just basically playing it for the sake of playing the characters that you think are cool or interesting. So it's like a huge flavor win. There's like flavor wins everywhere, and it's really cool that way. But from a mechanical standpoint, it just seems kind of boring and uninteresting. So I don't know. There's a couple that I think are cool. But a lot of these ones where it's like 2 characters that are like matched together that I had seen so far, maybe I'll see more that are interesting, but so far it's kind of like meh. But for this one, you just basically put a bunch of lands into your hand so you could fling them, I guess, at stuff. Deals twice that much damage to target creature. Is there... Wait, is it only creature? Hold on. Wait, you can't even fling it at the player? What? Oh, this commander's trash. What the fuck? Hold on a second. We're like reading it for the 5th time. Make sure I'm reading this right. Enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card, discard a number of lands. When you discard one or more, it deals twice that much damage to target creature. Dude, you can't even fling damage at a player? What is the point? Well, that's kind of disappointing. It's terrible removal. Like, you have access to blue. If this was just a Gruul commander, maybe that would be, I don't know, it would still be bad, but at least it would be like excusably bad, I guess, but you have access to blue. You have so many bounce effects, not to mention all the good single target removal cards that are in there, like rapid hybridization and stuff. And then like a very on the nose, not on the nose isn't the right phrase, like very like on par with Fibblefip, kind of put things back into the library, which is cool. I mean, like it's a flavor win for the effect, but like damn, that's like such a terrible ability. All right, moving on. I don't know. I have nothing more to say about that card, I guess. This is this the face card for, I briefly went through like when the different content creators spoiled the deck list, I briefly went through them, but I don't remember which ones are the face cards and which ones aren't. I'm excited to see how people break the backup ability. Like that's gonna be wild. I think it's I don't know if there's some weird like weird edge cases with mutate we can do or something else. Maybe there's like ones where we can give keywords to all of our creatures. Because like backup gives everything after it, right? When this enters the battlefield, put a counter on it. That's another creature. It gets the following ability. I think with the other ones where there's like multiple abilities after it, it says the following abilities, like plural. So I'm assuming that the way the backup mechanic works is that it gets everything. So if like we give, let's say Bright Palm. Let's say Bright Palm shows up, and we have, what's a good example? Nylea, the one that gives trample to all of our creatures. So it enters the battlefield and has trample. And then we back up something else. It would give another creature trample, even though that creature already has trample from Nylea. But like a way that you could abuse this to give more things, the other things would be like the backgrounds. Would that work? So like if we ran a list with all the backgrounds, or just like a bunch of backgrounds, hold on, for, that's an attack trigger, so that doesn't work. Wait, that would work, right? So like if I had Flaming Fist on the battlefield, works with this deck. Okay, so Flaming Fist is on the battlefield, Bright Palm enters the battlefield, and it would have this ability whenever this creature attacks against double strike until end of turn. And then we back up something else. Don't we give that thing the same ability? So I think these like backup commanders would be kind of fun to, I don't know how well that would work, but that would be a fun interaction, just to put in like a bunch of backgrounds and like other abilities and then flicker them to just keep giving them stuff. I don't know how viable that would be, but it'd be interesting. I think of all the precons, the Orzhov one and this one, I think, were the ones I was most interested in, just from, I love Orzhov and I think it's really fun. Aristocrat's really fun. And the backup mechanic just seemed interesting. And there was a lot of cool interactions in that deck. So anyway, as backup one, whenever a creature attacks, double the number of counters on target creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn. That's cool. It's cool that not only do it can give that ability to other things, it also, like as the attack, you can either double its own counters or double other things. Like you still have that option like later on to just start doubling stuff. And counters are fun. There's a lot of counters we can do in Selesnya. In red, is there? There is in red, right? But it's like more of a Selesnya thing. So you could do like cool +1/+1 counter decks with it. I'm kind of excited to see how those things go, but I'm more excited to see like how people append other abilities to stuff. I think that's going to be kind of funny. So let's get rid of that. And Bramaz, which was, I think, the face card for the Orzhov deck. The incubate mechanic is cool. I'm excited to see how that goes as well. Can you only transform them at sorcery speed? No. So you just make a bunch of combat tricks. That's kind of cool. Defensive combat tricks, not like strictly combat tricks, but defensive trick blockers, I guess. At the beginning of each end step, if a Phyrexian died under your control, proliferate. Is it each end step? It is. Cool. I mean, yeah. I haven't looked into the Phyrexian tribe, but there should be a ton now, right? I think they eroded a bunch of cards from older sets to Phyrexians in preparation for this set or like these recent sets. So I'm sure there's plenty of Phyrexians to add on top of changelings and other shit like that. And then we get the proliferate, so we would just be proliferating the incubator tokens. Which we should have plenty of if we are jamming in a ton of creatures. And it's a cash trigger too. Oh shit, wait. Would that work? No. We would need... Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, it does work. Okay, so if we had Maskwood Nexus out, all of our cast triggers would still be Phyrexians. And that means when we do Gravecrawler loops, we're making extra incubator tokens. That's actually kind of funny tech. So like you're looping through with Gravecrawler. God, I cannot talk. And making 1/1 incubator tokens over and over again. How does that help you though? Because they're not creatures. We would need to flip them somehow. How would we flip them? With the mana, I guess we're making. If we happen to have infinite mana, we could get infinite creatures this way. I don't know. There's some weird tech there. That could work, but this is just kind of like straight value if you just jam in. So you're just basically doing kind of like the Edgar thing, but like not as good. And then proliferating for a bonus. It's kind of like cool tech to see like how that deck works. I'm kind of excited to see how that precon operates. I don't know how to pronounce the first guy's name. Daru, something like that. And Hazaret. So as long as you have one or more fewer cards in hand, it has vigilance and haste. Okay, and then whenever it attacks, look at the top 6 cards. You may exile a legendary creature from among them, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then you can cast that. Is it? My freaking headphones going off, man. Until end of turn, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Great. My headset is going wild. 1 second, chat. Got to... My mic's still working? Cool. I have like a really crappy pair of Bluetooth headphones. Oh, Jesus, it's still doing it. I'm just going to rock without the headphones. There we go. Sorry about that. Basically just kept spamming in my ear loss connection because it's losing an imaginary connection it doesn't have for whatever reason. Anyway, so more attack trigger stuff. It gets vigilance and haste if we have 1 or fewer cards in hand. Which I don't know. And it's a legendary matters creature. I feel like this is just gonna go and be a penny rare for the rest of time because like people are still rocking Diada. The Diada precon was awesome. And Diada is really fun as like the commander of that precon. And then Joda was out. Like there's so many better legendary matters commanders that released recently. This shit's gonna just get like forgotten about in a week. Unless again you really like the characters. There's nothing here that really like drive you. Like, is it worth having one or fewer cards in hand to give your commander vigilance and haste? Like, why would you care? I don't know why it would matter. Like, maybe if it had vigilance and indestructible or haste and indestructible or all three of those keywords, then maybe you would care. Or hexproof or like literally anything other than, I mean, like vigilance I think is a slept on keyword that people like disrespect. It's like a really good keyword, especially for like go wide decks and stuff. Haste is always nice, but like I don't know. I don't know why you would do this. Like assuming like let's say you cast this card, right? So you have your one card in hand, you cast it, and then you get the attack trigger. It's not even until the end of your next turn. It's until the end of this turn you can cast it. So like then you don't have the mana. You're in Boros. You're not really known for explosive mana. Maybe you are now. There's like a lot of cool mana effects you could have. You could have Smothering Tithe, the Reaver Cleaver, etc. Like there could be, you could have the mana, but like I don't know. Oh wait, no, you don't need the mana. Oh, without paying its mana cost. Okay, maybe a little bit better than I thought. Didn't see the last line. Is it better then? I still think I'd rather run Dieta. Because now we have to dump our hand, which I guess we could with rummage spells. Or like rummage effects. Not even rummage effects. Oh. There's some tech. Is it in red? I think it's a black card. That just lets you dump things. Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is a black card. I put it in my Trazen video also. Is there a red version of that? Is there a red? I don't think white has one. Is there a red card that just lets you dump your hand for the sake of dumping your hand? So you can cast and swing this commander to reliably get free legendary creatures. And then what would we even have for the legendary creatures? We'd have the angels. That'd be kind of terrifying. Though this is in combat and you can't get around timing restrictions with it because it says until end of turn, so we can't cast it right away like we would with Atali, right? We'd have to cast them in second main phase, unless it had flash, of course, something like that. That's cool value, but I still don't think it dethrones anything from a legend. There's just so many better legendary creature matters or legendary matters commanders that released recently, like really recently. That will just outshine this one. So I don't know. I don't think it's gonna go too far. Drana and Linvala. This is gonna piss people off, man. I would love to chat with players from other stores and see how hated this commander will be. Because I just started recently playing at a new store, and it is really refreshing because the place I used to play at, like you would get bullied for running interaction, like straight up bullied, and get like I ran into a guy that was playing the game with him. I think I had flipped like thematic compass or something. He could not get rid of it. He's like, I have no way to blow up your Spires of Erazka because I don't run strip mine anymore. And I was like, why not? He's like, because I literally got bullied off the table for running a strip mine and blowing up one land. It's like, Jesus. I don't know. I feel like like that old place. I feel like somebody ran this commander, do you get bullied out of the table just for this first ability where you can't activate abilities of creatures. and you get those abilities. I feel like this would piss people off more than the Elish Norn. Because like everyone was talking about the Elish Norn getting banned. The ETB one, the one that turns off ETBs and stuff. And I don't know. I don't personally think it's that bad. I played 4 games against that commander. 4 or 5 games. No, it was like 4 games. And the only card it affected for me was my Solemn Simulacrum that I forgot it was out, so I didn't get my Solemn trigger. And like I didn't really do much other than that. It mostly is just really good as a Panharmonicon in the command zone. But turning off opponents' ETB abilities is pretty niche. Unless your deck actually focuses on those ETB abilities, then like it brutally like cripples you. It's pretty bad. But if you're not an ETB deck, then who cares? This is kind of like the same deal. Because like you just wouldn't play into it, right? So like let's say Drana and Linval is on the field. Your opponents would probably just get pissed. Like Steve's like somebody cast Steve and like I'm gonna go sacrifice it to go get my lands. Like no, you can't do that. Sorry, but I can sacrifice my Drana to go get a base. Or and other like shit like that. Other activated abilities. A lot of excuse me. A lot of commanders utilize this in various ways. Oh, what's up, Concept? Did you just message? Sorry, you were like your comment is under like this banner in Streamlabs for me, so I don't know if you just sent it. I don't see a timestamp or not. Sorry if I missed you, dog. But hello, welcome. Good to see you, dude. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna be like a super brutal commander. It's just kind of like a Staxy commander, I guess. Most people would probably say this is a Stax commander. Does it help you though? Maybe. It definitely shuts down. I would say this probably shuts down more utility than the Elish Norn does. I don't know. It really depends on what kind of player you are. I've seen so many creatures that this card would shut down versus the ETB, but I see vice versa. I don't know. It just depends on the situation, I guess. I don't know how you would build this. This is like it's so like the ability on how well this impacts the game just depends so much on what your opponents are running. And you're basically just playing it to shut down those effects, and those effects might not even exist. So who knows? Like with the Elish Norn, at least you have a direction of where you know where you're going. You're an ETB deck, and you're doubling your ETB triggers, and it's just a bonus. You get to shut down your opponents, and it might or might not affect them, and who really cares? But I don't know. Here it's kind of like I don't know how you would theory craft a deck for this, because it doesn't give you value, it just takes away value, and then the value you gain from that from your opponents is just depends on what you play. Like there's no way to really predict that, so who knows. Moving on to Elenda and Azor. Whenever these are from Ixalan, right? Elenda is. I think all the pairs are from the same plane. I don't think they mix and match planes. I'm not sure on that. I'm trying to remember Azor. I thought Azor was... I'm curious. We're going to get sidetracked. That's right. He's the guild. That's what I thought. So I guess they mix and match planes. I thought like all these pairs were coming from the same plane. I didn't realize they were like mixing and matching. Wait, no, it is. Wait, hold on. This is Ixalan. So wait, did he go to... This is where I don't know the lore. Like Azor... Did he make the guild? I don't fucking know. I don't know the lore that much with it. All right, we're just going to ignore. I assume so. Because a lot of times the guilds are like kind of named after whoever, named after the leaders in some respect, but I don't know. All right, we're getting sidetracked. Let's ignore it. So whenever it attacks, though, we can pay whatever and then draw whatever. So we're paying X and then Esper to draw that many cards. And then beginning each end step, you can pay for life if I do. Create a number of 1/1 black knight creature tokens with lifelink equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. I think this is cool. Like, I think this is dope because not only is this a like, this is just like value engine stuff. Like, you're doing stuff that Esper wants to do anyway. You're probably like a control deck. Are you a tokens deck? Wait, what's the win con here? What's the like the game plan? You're probably doing combos. I don't know. Like Esper decks and nothing. Like when you're playing Esper, you're not up to anything good. Like there's always some kind of shenanigans going on. I feel like you're a combo deck or you're not Overwhelming Splendor. Is it Overwhelming Splendor? What's the name of that win con? Approach of the Second Sun, that's what it is. Overwhelming Splendor is the aura, I think. Yeah. So this is like an Approach of the Second Sun's deck. Because you want to draw a million cards. Or you're doing self-mill or something like that. You're probably up to like some shenanigans. That's just what Esper does. It's just shenanigans. It's cool that we can dump mana as part of the attack trigger to just draw stuff. And then it's cool that we don't have to ever pay life, or we don't have to ever pay mana, just life at each end step to just make these vampires. Life gain is super easy. One, it could pay for itself. Well, no, wait, you don't make that many. You make how many you draw, right? Yeah. So you could have Suture Priest or something like that, or any of the other, like when a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain that much life or something like that. There's ways to make up that life easily and always be able to pay it. Even the tokens themselves have lifelink, so like they will eventually pay for it. But you're just basically just trying to draw tons of cards. You don't even need Elenda and Azor's ability. You could run like Reconnaissance, I think, and Dasa's Trident or whatever. Like they both have combat damage triggers. For like whenever you deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. I don't think that has to be a token. I think maybe one might have to be token or is non-token. The other one doesn't care. I don't know. The point is that there's plenty of ways to draw cards, and we don't care about the mana. We just care about the life, which in Commander is a lot. We should be able to activate this plenty of time. Not to mention you have your group hug effects like Howling Mind and Temple Bell and stuff like that. So it's cool. I think this is a commander you would probably see pretty often for like a little bit anyway. It's not like revolutionary, but it's interesting. The art's kind of cool. Esper's fun. At least I find it fun. It's kind of open-ended enough to where you can apply a bunch of different use cases and game plans if you want to. So like it's cool. So far it's probably one of the better commanders that we've talked about. I'm excited to kind of see where people take it anyway. Moving on, our first Praetor. Cool. So all the Praetors this cycle, I briefly kind of looked through them earlier today, and they all flip into sagas. They all have a ability that lets them flip into sagas, and then once the saga's over, they flip back, which is cool. So this one is basically whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a permanent you control, that source's controller loses 2 life unless they pay 1. This really depends a lot on what you're up against. Like Voltron commanders don't give a shit, right? Like, let's say I'm coming at you with, I don't know, the Galta Blightsteel Colossus. And it's like, well, when you deal combat damage to me, you're gonna pay 1. It's like, all right. Not if I kill you and the trigger fizzles, you know? Like this first ability is just kind of lackluster, but against like go wide decks, that the Rise player is like sweating bullets in his corner of the play area, you know? It's like, oh no, I can't hit Elishnorn. I'm gonna have 10,000 triggers. I have to kill them in one swing, otherwise it's just gonna be over. And then I have to pay a ton of mana or life. So it's whatever. And then we flip it. If this was the commander, I think this is a cool commander maybe for in like the 99 of a Selesnya token deck, which we'll get to why in a second. But one, we'd have plenty of creatures to sacrifice to this Elishnorn's ability to flip it. So we pay 3, sacrifice 3 creatures, flip it, then we incubate 5 times, incubate 2 5 times, and then flip all those. So we instantly replace the 3 creatures we just sacrificed with these tokens. And then the next turn, we give them all double strike and +1/+1. So they're essentially 3/5/3/3s with double strike, assuming all the tokens are still around. And then after that, we board wipe to destroy all permanents except for lands, artifacts, and Phyrexians. And then we flip Elishnorn back to this side. And we could just sacrifice them right away and make more incubation tokens and just start the process. And then we were board wiping every 3 turns, which is cool. The Saga is like way better, which I understand why they limit it to sorcery speed. I kind of wish though, because this is like the last stand for the Praetors, right? From like a story perspective, I kind of wish they made these last 3 Praetors like busted, like just dumb. And the way that you would be able to do that would be like instant speed for protection. So like maybe give these sagas 4 stages instead of 3, and like the first 2 are kind of like that way, because like if you did it on an opponent's turn, you flip it, you get the 1 right away, and then on your turn you get the 2 right away. So like it would stack. I understand why from a balance reason that you would limit it to sorcery speed for that reason, but it would be cool if they could have like let you do it at instant speed and just like make them like more powerful to be able to protect themselves like that. That would have been kind of interesting. But anyway, the front side is really dependent on your opponents. The Saga, I think, is actually pretty cool. It's a little slow, but like being able to board wipe over and over again, especially if you're running proliferate effects, it just seems kind of like mean almost. You'd be able to really control the board state this way. And as always, the art is kick-ass. Elishnorn art's always really cool. So yeah, from a commander standpoint, I don't know what you would do. I think this is much better in the 99. You're running like Phyrexians, like artifact creatures or Phyrexian tribal. So that way you don't blow up your own creature base all the time. I don't know how many there are in mono white. I haven't really looked into that tribe, so not sure. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. I don't really know if I'd run it as a commander. I think I'd rather run it in the 99 of like, I don't know, maybe a Phyrexian deck or something like that. Be cooler that way. Now we have Gaida and Errant. This kind of reminds me of like the Lost Metal cover for some reason. A little bit more high fantasy, but like just like this pose I think I saw on one of the covers for like a Brandon Sanderson book or something. You have Flash and Flying, 3-drop, so cool. Look at the top card of your library at any time and you may cast spells with Flash or Flying from the top of your library. This is cool. This is basically what Flash decks want to do anyway. Like, I feel like any Azorius player that is doing Flash shenanigans is the kind of player that wants to expand their hand size by 1 and it makes or breaks the deck. You know what you know what I mean? They're running like Sensei's Divining Top and stuff to like make sure that the top card's always money. It's cool that we can do flash or flying. It's important to note that giving our spells flash with like ley line of anticipation, I think, is the blue one. Like that kind of stuff. That doesn't apply to our library. So I don't think you'd be able to pull things out that way. But it's cool. I mean, it's not really my speed, but I think for players that want to do things at instant speed or like are running flying tribal decks or something like that for Azorius, which there's lots of flyers, and Azorius flyers is a thing. It's a cool commander for that because you can just cast them at instant speed that way. It would be cool if it had an added ability to give creature spells with flying in your hand also flash or something like that. The kind of like sort of like double down on that. Maybe make it a 4-drop, add that additional ability would have been kind of cool. Because only being able to expand into the top of your library might turn some people off. It's like, is that enough value for the command zone? For some people it is. I think for me it's not. For other people it might not be. I don't know. But it's an interesting commander. The new competitive set I thought was awesome, so it's cool to see that here. I already talked about Atali. For anyone that watched, I guess I'll touch on it briefly. For anyone that watched that video, I don't know, I don't want to rehash my viewpoints on it again. I still think it's a cool meme to just push for this. If I was building it, I would probably not push the ETB as much. I don't know, maybe I would. I would probably try it. If I had the cards, I would probably try it. But I think I would still want to push for this because I think it's just a funny meme. I don't know if I would play it to begin with anyway. I don't know. For anyone that's not in the loop, basically I had like a bad take that the old Italia was better because of I didn't comprehend or didn't quite grasp just how many clone effects red has access to. I knew that there were some, but I didn't think there was enough to really flesh the deck out with properly to like focus on the ETB ability. So I was like, yeah, just be better off doing the other Tali where you can reuse the ETB trigger over and over again. And people were like, no, that's wrong. And so I went back and looked at it. I was like, oh shit, there's a lot more than I thought there was. So yeah. And then we got Blightsteel Colossus, who's just like really good on the back. If you want more detailed stuff on that, go watch that video. I also made a short video on this because I was kind of experimenting with shorts. And it didn't put it in the shorts section. It didn't actually publish it as a short. So I'm a little confused on how we're supposed to do that from our desktop, but whatever. I don't understand why you would ever care about the token creation of this card. For Galta and Maverin, basically whenever it attacks, we can make tokens depending on, we can choose one of these modes and go wide or go tall. I don't know why either matters. You're 12-12 with trample. You two-shot your opponent in literally every format. In most cases. So like in Commander and Brawl, you're two-shotting your opponent because of Commander damage. In every other format, you're doing 24 damage total with trample, which is enough to kill someone from starting life total, assuming they don't have more than 5 power blockers, like 5 power or more blockers, right? So like you're 2 or 3-shotting people likely. It's a 7-drop. Like you can get it out super early. You have access to the green, so you're ramping like crazy. Like I don't know why the tokens matter. It seems so weird to me that this commander has trample. Or is this large? I understand like that's Galta's thing, but like who maybe I'm completely like missing the point or something, but I don't know like the why the tokens, like who cares about the tokens? You're literally two-shotting players in every format with this card. just from the attack damage. So I don't know. I think it's cool. As a Voltron player, I think it would be like pretty sweet the run. You just give it haste and bang. Haste and double strike, bang, bang. Haste, double strike, and protection. And then the tokens are a bonus. Like, who cares? But whatever. The tokens themselves are nice, I guess. So We can make the bottom ones also attacking. So for the go tall component, we carried a tapped and attacking XX dinosaur with trample, where X is the greatest power among other attacking creatures. So it doesn't even see itself. You have to have another creature already before you make these tokens. But it is tapped and attacking, so I guess burst damage. But again, you're more likely to kill them with commander damage than anything else. And then create X vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. But those vampires aren't tapped and attacking. You're just creating them. So, yeah. I guess it depends on how aggressive you want there to be. I don't know. By the time you build up the vampire army, you're probably killing them. Again, this isn't like made for commander, but even in, that's what confuses me about this, because like when something in commander is like, why would you do this for a commander, right? And it's like, well, it's not made for commander, it's made for standard. But even in standard, I don't understand this card, because you're still two-shotting players. You're more likely to kill them with Galta before you make enough tokens to really annihilate something else, except for like the dino tokens, I guess. Like, why would you ever make the vampires in standard? You swing with Galta, you have one other creature out, make a dino, and then you're like super pressured because the dino is also tapped and attacking. So I don't know. 7-drop in standard is a lot anyway, so I don't know if this would really be a big thing in standard. But as a commander, it'd be a fun Voltron deck. It'd be cool to see. This is the face card for another one of the precons, I think. Artifact creatures you control have trample at the beginning of your end step. Create a 0/0 red gremlin artifact creature token. Put X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. I think this is a fun meme. This is kind of cool. There's like, looking at the precon list, there was a lot of different ways. Like it makes the difference of gold versus tokens or versus treasures, and like normally that difference is kind of nuanced, but like here it actually matters because of the names. And you're just trying to jam out all sorts of random tokens and stuff. And then probably like adding proliferate tech and stuff like that. So I think this is cool. I think this commander would be really interesting because it really incentivizes you to ramp kind of wildly. And I mean that in like you're making treasures and you're making gold and you're running that thing that makes food, gold, and tokens. Then you got blood and the tokens, and it's just so much random stuff. There's a lot of draw potential. There's a lot of mana potential. You have golems, because they just have to be artifact tokens, right? Yep. And then you have incubate tokens now. Are the incubate tokens, hold on a second, do the incubate tokens have a different, I mean to close that, name? I think they do, right? Yeah. So you could have one flipped over and it has and then you have the two. So like you have you make one incubator token, you keep that one, you make another one, then you flip one of them, and now you have two for that guy's effect. So that's kind of cool. What? Oh, there we go. I don't know how powerful he would be. I'm sure, I think he will be really powerful. Because assuming that, I mean, it is an end steps, it's not like you're making a ton of these things. Giving your artifact creatures trample, though, is pretty good. You could abuse like other tech with that. Artifacts in general are just fun in general. Like it's a good time. So I'm excited to see how people kind of update the precon. The precon already looked pretty fun, but I'm like excited to see how people update this and like take it to the table. Glizza, I think is how I pronounce it. Beginning of combat on your turn, choose one incubate 2 twice. We talked about that. Transform all incubator tokens you control. Cool. Phyrexians you control gain first strike and death touch into end of turn. Sweet. So again, don't know how many Phyrexians are out there. I'm assuming that there's enough. There's a lot of support of Phyrexian tribal commanders in the set so far. It's like what, the third or fourth one we've talked about. We're not even halfway through these commanders yet. So yeah, there'll be cool ways to play into that. Is this worth it though? I think maybe if you have a lot of incubators, the combat trigger is good if you have like tons of incubators. It's cool to incubate multiple times. This is again like another Helm of the Host. Maybe you're cloning this particular commander. Over in Golgari, is there a lot of ways to clone things? I don't think so. I'm like living in a world of doubt now. If there's a lot of way to clone things outside of blue. I don't think there is. You know, it's versatile. Like it's got a lot of versatility, and that's always good. Like there's options. We can transform all of our stuff. We can make more of them. We can give them a useful suite of keywords to attack. We could have our other supporting cards, like trample and stuff like that, with Nylea to give those Phyrexians trample and let a ton of damage go through. First strike and the death touch, apply 1 damage, and the rest tramples through for like extra to the player and stuff. So I think it'd be a fun commander. I'd have to look into it more to really see like how many Phyrexians, if it's really worth looking like and trying out. But as far as like the suite of utility goes, it's cool and versatile, and options are always nice and are fun. So that's a W right there. Wizards. Goro and Satoru. Things how you pronounce it. Whenever one or more creatures you control enter the battlefield this turn, deal combat damage to a player, create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token with flying. And then creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. First ability is so specific. It's cool that it can give itself haste though. I mean, as an is it, like ignoring that it has access to black, as an is it commander, you'd be doing lots of like is it things, like is it token shenanigans, right? Like Brutaclad stuff, Locust God stuff. Throwing those in here. Though a lot of those strategies already give haste, which doesn't matter, I guess, because then we just save the mana. We don't need to give them haste at that point. So if they get haste another way, which is cool. You're running like Rite of the Raging Storm in this deck to always get more and more dragons. And then what would you do with black? What is the advantage of black in this deck? Just removal, I guess. Rakdos has lots of tokens that we can make. The sacrifice and make things. What about Dimir? This color trio, I don't know if I've ever played a commander with this color trio. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I could probably go on EDH rack and look. Like browse the top commanders. Maybe I've tried one. But I think this is cool. It's unfortunate that it's one or more. It's probably for a good reason. If it wasn't one or more, you could probably just make a shit ton of dragons. But it's always self-populating, which I think is cool. So it's just kind of like steamrolling, and you're just making more and more and more dragons. You just kind of get more bang for your buck. Is it like good though? It just seems slow. It's definitely pressure though. Especially since the dragons have flying, right? Does this card have flying? No. I don't know, like you're a token deck. Are you aristocrat deck too? Because like normally in like Rakdos, if you're a token deck, you're also an aristocrat deck, just by like definition. Maybe. Maybe for like value. What would the win con be? Just beating down your opponents in combat? Just trying to make more and more copies of like this and other things? ETB stuff, maybe? Are you running like Warstorm Surge to like burn your opponents? Maybe it's just a burn deck. But then the attack trigger is slow for a burn deck. Do we care? I don't know. Maybe. I would love to see, I'm not really sure where I would take it, but I would love to see someone else's list and like see how it plays out. I would like to see somebody try this and see what the game plan would be. Like, what would their strategy be? Because I'm really not sure how I would go about doing it to make it faster, because it just seems kind of slow to me. Like, the value is there. 5/5 with flying for free, basically, is big thumbs up. That's cool. So yeah, I don't know. I would be interested to see someone else's list though. Heliod, I did a video on this one too. Basically you're just wheeling a lot. His front side is like cool to get some utility cards back, but as like a Eldrazi commander, he's kind of sweet. Because like we can really cheat out Eldrazi's easily with this effect, or artifacts, or any colorless type strategy. Really, really easily. And at instant speed. And we get the benefits of being an Azorius. Like, so we have control, board wipes, counter spells, and all that stuff. So he's actually a dope commander. This is like a straight W. It's a lot of mana to get to that point though. So it's 7 mana total and 2 life. To be able to flip him. And then he doesn't have the typical Theros effect where he's indestructible. You could run Tyrite Sanctum. The backside's still a god, or even the front side wouldn't matter because the token would still be there. So Tyrite Sanctum's a land that you can activate it to make something a god and then give it indestructible. You can just skip the first step and make it indestructible right away with this. But we would want to protect Heliod somehow, so we could always have that value engine going, and then we just like wheel. Just like Windfall, Jace's Archivist, and stuff like that. And then just reduce your opponent or like your spells by like a ton and just cast them for free. So he's like a really cool commander in that regard. Unfortunately, Eldrazi's are pretty expensive now, like at least the good ones are. So he's not really like a budget friendly commander in that regard. You could just do artifacts, and it might even be better because artifacts are so cheap. You can just dump your hand like crazy. So I don't know. I think he's a really cool commander though. I think I would be really scared. Giving everything flash is always just powerful. So like I don't want to say pro tip, that sounds so arrogant, but like a good tip for your decks, if you're trying to lower the power level of your deck and it has flash, just get rid of flash. Your power level goes down easily, super easy way to like balance yourself with the rest of the table. Is just not give yourself flash. So is a super cool commander, super good. Can't wait to see more. If you want to see more what I have to say about that, watch the video. Hi sir, oh god, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Hi Jitsguro, I don't know. I'm sorry guys for anyone that's mispronouncing these, or that I'm offended by mispronouncing these or whatever. Anyway, this commander has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library. So brainstorm, right? Basically. When it dies, exile the top card of your library. Target opponent loses life equal to its mana value. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may cast it paying its mana cost. So it's a death trigger. How would we abuse this as a commander? We're in Demir. I already know that the Yuriko players are just going to be like, who the fuck cares? I'm going to play Yuriko. Like, the Yuriko players have already written this off and moved on. But How do we abuse this? Like, I don't know. As a commander, it doesn't seem very good. Even as like a regular card, it doesn't seem very good. Unless you kill it right away, but then you've just spent 5 mana to brainstorm, fling some damage, and possibly cast an instant or sorcery spell for free. Maybe it depends on what kind of instant and sorcery spells you play, like you have in your deck. Maybe you're an extra turns deck. Those are pretty expensive. So like extra turns cards are typically like 4 or 5 plus mana, right? So you're flickering this commander to constantly brainstorm until you get one on top of your library, sack him, cast it, fling it at somebody, do it again. Is this just a shit? What's the name of that card? There was like a box topper for one of the Ravnica sets. Like the bonus card that was an extra turn spell, Nexus of Fate, I think, that puts itself back into its library when it's cast. So do you just, is this just one of those self-mill Dimir decks that takes extra turns and and then it keeps blowing up stuff? Is that what this does? Maybe. I don't know. Seems like hard. For a Dimir deck, I can think of so many things I'd rather play. And it seems really complicated to try and work into, unless you're just focusing on the ETB ability. Like trying to abuse the death trigger doesn't really seem viable. Unless we're able to just constantly reanimate it over and over again. We're in Dimir, so I guess we could do that. Like you're using like Kaya's whatever, the bring it back right away. There's like several black cards like that like when this creature dies, it comes right back, sort of thing, and then it ETBs again and brainstorm loops. That could be a cool way to go about it. It just sounds so complicated. It sounds like it has a lot of moving parts, but when the stars align, that would be pretty epic to watch. Like when the game plan is working, it would be pretty interesting. That would be a cool twist on a solitaire deck. That really bizarre death loop. And then we put like Mystic Sanctuary. Is that what it's called? Whatever the Eldraine land is that lets you put things back onto the battlefield. Maybe you could, or back on top of your library. And then you could like get things back and like keep doing the loop. I don't know. Copy that land or flicker that land too somehow. That kind of shit. That would be fun. That is like some complicated tech, but that would be a really bizarre and fun solitaire deck to see somebody try and pull off. All right. Essica and Igna, something like that. Creatures control vigilance and add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. When you cast a creature spell, if 3 or more mana from creatures was spent to cast it, draw a card. Oh god. Is this just Simic value? It is just, oh, creatures you control have vigilance too? Oh god. It is just Simic value. So for people that aren't familiar with Simic decks, I love this art too. I think this art's kind of wild. This is cool. This is pretty cool. For people that like aren't familiar with Simic, there's like so much utility in their creature base. Like you don't care that you can only spend it to cast creature spells. You don't give a shit. I promise you. there is so much stuff that you can do with just the creatures, so that doesn't matter. And when you cast it, as 3 more mana spent the from creatures was spent to cast it, draw a card, and then you're just drawing. Oh jeez. I'm kind of surprised that this hasn't gone for more. I feel like this is pretty good for only $1 commander. Like I feel like Simic players will just have a field day with this. Will it replace their other Simic commanders, though? Probably not. There's definitely better Simic value commanders. But as far as new ones go, this one seems pretty good. Just being able to draw stuff. Like, it doesn't replace... well, that's not fair. It's Bant. I'm thinking of Chulane. Chulane's Bant, so that's cheating. Extra color to work with. This doesn't replace... I'm trying to think of all the different Simic commanders I've seen recently. Does this replace the bird commander? Maybe not. Because like in that deck, like you'd rather copy the spells than probably make them be able to tap for mana. But like, I don't know. I feel like this commander would be really cool to build around. Maybe we'll try this one in the future. I'm gonna put it in another tab as ones to go back to. Because I feel like there is a lot of creatures we could use to abuse for this one. So we're gonna tab that one and come back to it, I think. Jin-Gitaxias. I think this one's broken. So Ward 2. Man, I wish they'd stop giving things word. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, draw a card. And then we can flicker it to its other side if we have 7 or more cards in hand. We're in mono blue. That shouldn't be too hard, especially with this draw effect. And it's not instant or sorcery. It's like any non-creature spell. 3 or greater, that's no problem. So it shouldn't be too hard to get this. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand, which in theory is at least 7 or more. So like this trigger would go on the stack, maybe somebody stifles it or tries blowing it up. Because Jin's still here when we activate this ability. We can't activate it again in response to protect it. Which I guess makes sense as to why these would all be sorcery and they probably couldn't. Just for like the react scenario. So rescinding what I said earlier about sorcery speed, that would definitely be too broken. I don't think you would find a way to balance that. Anyway, so you activate this, it goes on the stack. Somebody tries targeting Jin, you counterspell it. So let's say you have like 5 or 6 cards. You're still drawing 5 or 6 cards plus with this first ability. And then you have no maximum hand size as long as we're doing this. 1 second. All right, sorry, I thought somebody was at my door. Okay, so then we have, where were we? No maximum hand size. Next turn, we bounce everything. Bounce all non-Phyrexians. Oh, that seems so troll. You may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. And then we flip it. Yikes. Cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Yikes. We should have so much in our hand too. Like we'll have a lot of cards in hand when this inevitably flips back. Assuming somebody doesn't blow it up. Like I feel like this is really good. Other people do too. It's already like $20, $17, $40 for like the alternate artwork and stuff. I don't know. It seems really good. You're incentivized to not do creature stuff with the front side. I don't know. It just seems really, really good. What would the game plan be though with this deck? Are you just a good stuff deck? Are you just blue good stuff and control? Is that the game plan? I think so. You would have to keep in mind. No, you wouldn't even care. So, like, if you are going to add creatures, you probably are doing Phyrexians mostly, and then like utility non-Phyrexian. So like Solemn, Meteor Golem, other ETB related or cast related non-Phyrexian cards that you don't care about going back to hand because you're just going to cast them again for free on your following turn because you have no maximum hand size while this is all going on. Then you have Proliferate Tech. Dude, you could probably loop this because like you have Peregrine Drake. Is that what it's called? There's a Drake that untaps 5 lands when it enters the battlefield. So like that's a non-Phyrexian. I believe. I'm pretty sure it's not Phyrexian. And then that bounces the hand. You proliferate. You recast it. This flips back. You've untapped 5 lands, and then you immediately cycle back. Oh, that just is such bullshit. Oh my god. Dude, that's wild. Holy shit. So how fast could we proliferate this? Could we loop Jin? Can we loop Jin in 1 turn? Probably not. I don't think we could proliferate. There's the new Dominus that proliferates extra time. So if we're at 1, we could do it if the new Dominus was out. Maybe. We would need extra turns. We'd run out of mana, wouldn't we? In blue and mono blue, what can we do to make a ton of mana? I guess any Peregrine Drake. Oh, Jesus. We could totally... Oh, no. Oh, no. Wait. Oh, no. Oh, no. So if Jin is... Oh, Jesus. So if Jin... Doesn't matter if he's in the command zone, whatever. So if we are mono blue and we're doing Peregrine Drake or other infinite mana combos, as long as we have 7 or more cards in our hand when we pull off the combo, we win, right? We would need a way to proliferate in addition. So we would need infinite mana on field, some way to proliferate. Hey, the staff. The staff. What is it called? Staff of Completion, I think. You can untap it. Jesus Christ. So you need the life though. We'd run out of life probably. What else can we use to proliferate? We have Karn's. If we had Karn's Bastion. If we had the infinite mana loop with Peregrine Drake, because this is a land, then we would win. If Karn's Bastion was out. But we would need lots of life in order to do the staff of completion out. So like the reason that I'm saying we would win is because the loop would be basically drawing out your whole library. So we get infinite mana. We cast Jin. We have 7 or more cards in hand. That is a lot of steps for an infinite combo, but it is doable, and one of them is in the command zone. So we have infinite mana. We have at least 7 cards in hand. We flip Jin. We draw a bunch of shit. Doesn't matter. We use that mana to activate our proliferate items to cast whatever we want. Jin comes back. We flip Jin again. Draw. And we just keep doing this until we get Thassa or Jace or Labman combo. Or we don't even need to do it that way. We could just infinite win until we get other win, insert other win con here. Like infinite storm count too. So you could do you'd have infinite storm count also. Is this a May? It's not a May. So you wouldn't get infinite storm count. Well, you are casting Peregrine Drake, right? As part of that combo? I think so. So I guess you would have infinite storm count, and then you just Aether Flux Reservoir, obliterate people that way too. So like infinite mana you win with Jin and a little bit of proliferate tech. You just need some way to proliferate a lot. Oh, that's kind of scary, having it in the command zone. That's probably why people are paying so much for him. I wonder if he's number 1 right now on pre-orders. Let's go over the Card Kingdom real fast. March of the Machines. Pre-order singles. Who is the most expensive card in the set right now on Card Kingdom? Really? Ren is? Really? Elishnorn is? What? Seriously? This is the cheap one? What? Excuse me? Hold on. Did I have another bad two bad takes in 1 week? I can't do. This is the cheapest one on. But why? Why is Elishnorn more expensive? Why is Elishnorn the most expensive? Maybe because it's the board wipe. It's like a board wipe you can go over and over again. That's like basically one-sided. That's probably why. But that's so slow. In mono white. That is weird, man. Okay. Whatever. So for my other monitor I'm looking at, Elishnorn's coming in. This is at Card Kingdom prices. Elishnorn's coming in at a solid $35 for pre-orders. Umbrisk, 30. Sheoldred, 20. Vorinclex, 20. And then this one over at 18. And that is just bizarre to me. Because this is the only one. I briefly looked at these ones. I don't know. Maybe I'll remember if the other ones can combo off. But at least between this and Elishnorn, this one can go infinite. This one has the potential to go infinite. I don't think the other Elishnorn does. The other Elishnorn could infinitely flip it. But I don't think you could get infinite proliferate. Ooh, maybe you could. Wait, hold on. What would be the infinite loop with Elishnorn? Oops. Hold on a second. What is the infinite loop with Elishnorn? So we could go infinite, maybe. It would be Altar of the Brood. This is one route. And then we need mana. We need mana and proliferate. So we have Staff of Completion. We need the life though. And we need the mana. So we would need Staff of Completion. God, this would be even more complicated to pull off, but you could do it. You would need Staff of Completion, some sack outlet for mana, like, because it transforms the tokens right away. So these would all be creatures. And you could use the. Oh, wait. If you use the creatures for mana, then you wouldn't have the creatures for Elishnorn. So could you do it with still having 2 creatures left? Or 3 creatures left? Depends on what altars you had out. It'd be pretty genuine. It would be really generous to say that you had Phyrexian altar and Ashnod's altar out at the same time. But you could do it with both of those out. Maybe? Well, you would have the mana to pay for it, but you wouldn't have the mana to pay for... Jesus. You wouldn't have the mana to pay for the Staff of Completion, though, which we need to proliferate. And this is kind of a moot point anyway. Would we even win? It doesn't actually win like Jin does. It just continuously board wipes and makes them bigger. If we had token doublers and haste enablers, is there a haste enabler or blanket haste enabler in mono white? I don't think so. I can't think of one. Not one that we could add to this deck. I guess you could get infinite creatures if you had a token doubler and enough mana outlets. God, this is so wild. And then proliferate shit. Oh, Jesus. Maybe you could go infinite. God, that is so many hoops to jump through, though, for this route. Huh. Okay. But anyway, I don't know. I feel like you could easily go infinite with Jin. If you had infinite mana and a way to proliferate something on field, you could go infinite with Jin. And then just win. Draw into a win con and go from there. But that's enough about Jin. Moving on. Actually, let's jump. Let's skip. Let's do the Praetors. Because I want to know if we can go infinite with all of them. This is number 2 on Card Kingdom right now. Well, number 2 of the Praetors anyway. Number 1 is Ren. Well, I haven't seen yet. What does Ren even do? All right, we're getting super sidetracked. This is why it takes me so long to write scripts for videos. Realm and World Breaker. This lands you control have add 1 mana of any color. Up to 1 target land you control becomes a elemental creature with vigilance, hexproof, and haste until the next turn. It's the land, mill 3, but a permanent from milled into your hand. You get an emblem, you may play lands and cast permanent spells from your graveyard. Ooh. That emblem is dope. I mean, this is just it is a really good card. Is it number 1 in the set, though? I think I understand why it's probably not number 1 in the set, but I see why it's probably number 1 in price, because this is just like such a good catch-all card for like Wooburg and 4-color decks that have access to the green. It's like yet another way to make lands tap for anything, just passively. Make creatures, which is kind of You can mill. You have to mill from you like regrowth from among those 3 cards, so that's kind of, I mean, that's good, but it's like the emblem is what's really good here. So in Planeswalker decks, that's kind of spooky. Because we can always, like, having an emblem where we have Crucible Worlds just as an emblem is pretty scary. So yeah, there's that. That's number 1 right now. Anyway, back to the commanders. Umbresk. Instant sorcery spells, deals 1 damage to target opponent. I mean, that's cool. This is like another Storm deck. I'm super not familiar with Storm, just mono red Storm, so I don't know. You would definitely have the mana to flip this, right? So we need we've cast 3 or more instant or sorcery spells this turn. That last instant or sorcery would make the mana to pay for the flip, so like that's cool. It's like super easy to flip, I feel like, if that's what you're focusing on. And then it does 3 damage to target opponent and each creature they control. Just 1 target opponent seems kind of meh. Then we make treasures, which is nice. And then we get flashback to everything, I think. Yeah, it's just flashback for its mana cost. It really depends on, like, I don't know. I do not play Storm. I could not tell you. I feel like in the 99, this is super good, right? Like, if we are in the 99, if we're running this like in a shit a Veyron deck, like for sure add this. But as the commander, is it worth it? This is going in like every storm deck that can run it. Probably. Just seems really good. But would you run it as the commander? I don't think so. I feel like you would still be better off just running Veyron or one of the other storm commanders instead, like Niv Mizzet. Damn it, I was muted. Fuck me. It's been a while since I've done live stuff. Um, I wonder where I left off when I was muted. I'll just go through it again, whatever. So, when it ETBs, they sacrifice something, a creature or planeswalker. It's nice that the flip clause doesn't care if those 8 cards. An opponent needs 8 cards in their graveyard in order for this to flip, but it's cool that they don't care if those 8 cards are creatures or not. So like if another opponent's using like ramp spells like Cultivate or something like that, then it counts towards this. We flip it. We get to choose a creature or planeswalker for each opponent and destroy it. And then each opponent discards 3 and mills 3. And then we put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield, including ours, onto the battlefield under our control. So it's like a dark depths. No, not dark depths. Whatever realm, whatever Liliana card that was, that puts everything back on or back onto the battlefield under our control. And then we flip it back. And we flip it back, and then they sacrifice everything. And then they have to sacrifice something again. Dude, I feel like, I don't know, this isn't going to dethrone Turgid as like a super obnoxious commander to face against, but this is pretty obnoxious. This is kind of a really obnoxious commander. That's so cool though. If we had some proliferate tech, we could proliferate instant speed on our opponent's turns and then get rid of the summoning sickness from all these creatures. So like on an end step, we have that staff of completion or whatever, and then we proliferate from the chapter 2 to chapter 3 on our last opponent's end step, get them all back, they have haste, and then we just go bam and do stuff. I think that's funny. Can we go infinite with it? I don't think so. I guess it depends on what we steal. Maybe we can. Who fucking knows? Anything's possible. But as far as like what you would run in your own deck, I don't think you could go infinite with it. It doesn't win right out of the gate. It's just it's a lot of just like it's a lot of value in terms of like the value balance. So I talked about this a little bit in if you've watched the channel for a while. Talked about this a little bit in Evelyn's video, the new Capenna vampire that steals things when vampires enter the battlefield. Or not steals things, but like steals things into exile and then you can cast them later. That commander is powerful because not only are you adding to your value, you're denying your opponent's value. And any thief like effect, and like thief decks are good because of that. Where the downside of thief decks typically are is that you don't always control what you steal. Even that is kind of like meh. Like, I mean, it depends on what kind of thief ability. You could say Agent of Treachery, and you get to literally choose what you steal, or Praetor's Grasp, you get to literally choose what you steal. But typically, I would say like probably half of thief cards are ones that like you just get something. So like let's say the Jesus, the Mind Flayer, the Shadow card, you get to just you don't always choose. You can manipulate the bottom of somebody's deck to get specific things, but you don't always choose that. This is kind of the same case. You don't get to in this case with Shieldred, it's like the similar situation. The only time where you choose is for this first chapter. The rest of the time your opponents are choosing, or it's random with the mill effect. But they get to choose what they sacrifice, unless it's the only thing they have, right? They get to choose what they discard, and then you get something back. And there's a lot of thief effects that work this way. And don't really know. You're kind of like assembling value on the fly in that case, and like, is it good? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this point. I'm getting lost because I've been talking for so long. I'm already an hour and a half into this. I kind of wanted to get through this in like 45 minutes. I should have known better. So I'm looping, I guess. I still think Jin's better though. Jin just combos. Like an infinite mana and you combo and win. Like, but this seems like more fun. Comboing with Jin doesn't really sound like fun, it's just good. This seems like obnoxious, but not like Turgid obnoxious, where like you're just pissing everybody off. This one is like, oh shit, he just stole everything. Not like, oh shit, I have nothing and he stole everything. This is like approaching that though. This is close. This is like a close second place. Like Shieldred tried. She wanted to dethrone Turgid, but Turgrid's like, nah, I'm just way better still. Sorry. I guess the whole engine's built into one card, so maybe you could argue Shieldred is better. Just depends on how you look at it. I don't know. I'd be pretty scared to face against this commander though. Because that's a lot of value you can get back with this last ability, especially if you're building like discard and mill into your deck. Like that's a lot of value. I would put this in my Phoenix deck, that's for sure. Anyway, that's Shieldred. I understand why she's expensive. I think she fits mill decks. As like the commander, there's a lot of potential there, but I feel like mill decks would probably just run her a lot. Vorinclex. Trample and Reach, good combo, always nice. When Vorinclex enters the battlefield, search for 2 forest cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, and shuffle. Then for 6 and green, we can transform it. Oh, it doesn't have any other clauses, just a shit ton of mana. Okay, well, we're in mono green, we don't care about that. Sounds good. So when it flips, mill 10 cards. My God. Put up to 2 creature cards from among them milled cards onto the battlefield. Distribute 7 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain 1. This creature fights target creature you don't control. I wonder, does Vorinclex himself get that ability? I think so. I think this is just like a passive state thing. Like, I think he would also get that effect. I don't know. I feel like he's the worst, to be honest with you. He's the least lackluster, that's for sure. We're in, like, if you're in a Golgari deck, then like for sure add him, I think it would be pretty good for like that. He buffs things, he mills you, he can return things to the battlefield. We don't really care about the 3rd chapter in Golgari. If you're doing those kind of shenanigans, no one really cares. Maybe unless you want it to die. I don't know. Maybe you want the creatures to die and you could just have it fight other things. Or maybe they have death touch. Like, then they could fight other things. Kind of sucks that they go in the hand, though. They don't have to be basic forest, though, which is nice. So you can get literally any forest. Could be like a mana fixer. I feel like he's the worst out of all of them, though. I don't really know, like, with Umbrask or Umbrask, whatever his name is, like what you would do with him, because I'm just not really familiar with Storm decks, or at least not Mono Red Storm. So I don't know how viable he is, but I gotta believe he's more viable than this Vorinclex is. This Vorinclex just seems really slow, and it's like really random whether you'll even get, you could just whiff or get like Steve, you know, or something like that, or something like really shitty from this mill effect. You could say the same thing with Shieldred, but you have like a much more likely to get something good with Shieldred than with this. So I feel like he's the worst. There's nothing really more to say on him, I guess, with that. Oh god, we have so many to cover. Wizards, just stop shitting out commanders, please, for like 6 months. Don't print any or something like that. they just won't stop. Oops. Kazla, the Broken Halo. Convoke, I think that is a precon commander. Convoke, Flying, Vigilance, Haste whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke Scry 2, then draw a card. Seems cool. It's kind of weird that it doesn't have access to green, though. Isn't Convoke the Selesnya mechanic? Right? I'm going to look this up. I'm curious. Convoke. Convoke MTG. When was it introduced? When did the mechanic come out? Introduced in Ravnica, you know, it was introduced in Ravnica. The stats are, yeah, it's the Selesnya mechanic. Why isn't there green in this deck? You're literally cutting out 22%. So it has the stats broken down, at least on MTG Wiki here. 28% white, 13 blue. I'm just rounding. So 14 blue. 12 black, 9 red percent of cards, like a percent of cards with this ability. 22% green. So between green and white for monocolored, that makes up literally 50%. Azorius 1%, Selesnya 6%, Golgari 1%, Boros 1%, multicolored 1%, and what's this emblem? Artifact. Artifact is 4%. It's so weird that green is not in this deck. I don't know why you're cutting out so many cards that have this ability, so much of the archetype. Like, just cut red for green. Red's not red because that's what I play, at least red because it literally has the least Convoke cards of all the other colors. It's just so weird. But otherwise, it's cool. Having Convoke for the command zone is always super nice. You basically just want to do tokens, I guess, right? And then you'd be able to cheap it because like it would be able to pay for the commander tax, I think, with Convoke from the command zone. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. So like that's really nice. Flying Vigilance Haste, dope. Vigilance, so we can use it to convoke other things. Haste, so we can attack right away. Flying, we can utilize commander damage if we want to. Shame we don't have green, but that's okay. Being able to scry and draw whenever we cast convoke things, we can just jam convoke cards into this. Is going to be mostly white because that's like where most of these cards are. I would think, but it's really cool. Convoke isn't really an archetype I built around, but it's cool to have kind of like a dedicated commander for that. I think like the whole precon's like that. I'd have to look at the precon again, I'm not sure. But moving on. This commander, Catilda and Lear. I struggle so much to pronounce magic names. I'm sorry. Whenever you cast a human spell, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback in the turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. I have no idea if we're even going to start with that. Human is a huge archetype, though. I have no doubt you could flush this out with a human list, and like the human tribe is huge. So it wouldn't surprise me if how you're going to balance that with the flashback and what utility you could bring to the table with that is a whole different story. Flashback, I normally don't deal with too much myself. I've always kind of like felt that if I was going to mess around with my graveyard, I'd rather just play Aristocrats because then I can mess around with the same cards again, most likely. Like bring them back, sacrifice them, and then bring the same thing back. With flashback, it'd be going into exile, so we only get to use it like twice. It's cool that we get to use it again, but I don't know. What I would say is that we could get board wipes back this way, and being in Bant, and specifically Azorius, we'd have access to lots and lots of board wipes and stuff, or getting Cyclonic Rift, or Farewell, or is there a board wipe in Bant that is tribal specific? The one I'm thinking of, I think, is black. I don't think there's a Bant version of that. There might be. Who knows? So yeah, that kind of stuff. There might be a blue spell where it's like you name a creature type and bounce things that aren't that creature type. I'm not sure. But the human tribe has access to a ton of utility. I think human tribe was huge in modern for a while, and I'm sure it could probably be pretty good in commander as well. So there's probably lots of versatility for that. I just have no clue, so I don't really have like a strong opinion on it, I guess. Kogla and Udaro. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. It gains trample and haste in a turn, or it fights something you don't control. 2 and Golgari, discard it. All right, so so this is literally unusable. Destroy one target artifact or enchantment. Shuffle into your library from your graveyard, then draw a card. So as a commander, its last ability is basically unusable unless you have Command Beacon. I guess you could do some instant speed interaction that way to sacrifice Command Beacon, then pay it, then put it back into the command zone to destroy target artifact or enchantment. You could do that. Or you could run Croson Grip. Like, I feel like that would just be way better. This would be much more surprising. You definitely catch your opponents off guard, probably. But I feel like it'd just be better than just running your usual interaction. As for the ETB ability, cool. But for a 7 mana commander, if you're doing trample and haste stuff for like, you would just run Galta for 7 mana, and then you 2-shot somebody instead of 3-shotting somebody. It gets haste though, so I guess there's that. Croxa and Kronos, something like that. The dog. Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, there's a lot of ETB in this set. or attacks, you may exile 5 cards from your graveyard. When you do, target creature in your card return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I always hated the escape. Jesus Christ. I always hated the escape mechanic, and I've not changed my opinion on that. I just still don't like the escape mechanic. Because I'm jaded by my approach to aristocrat decks. I hate exiling things from my graveyard because I want to use my graveyard. I'd rather just return it the old-fashioned way, you know? And you're is this Mardu? No. What is this? What color trio is this called? Whatever it's called, you have access to lots of stuff. You have access from Rakdos. Mono white isn't exactly known for its graveyard shenanigans, but there are some. There's lots of ways to pull things out of the graveyard. And having this be one of them, especially on an ETB effect, I guess we could flicker it and do ETB shenanigans that way. You can only get creature cards from it. Maybe if it's like super high valued creature cards, I don't know. I don't know why. What would I rather run instead of this? I think I'd still rather run Diada. Diada's these colors, right? If you're doing like Legend, you could just do, because if you're going to be doing exiling 5 cards to bring something back from the graveyard to the battlefield, you're paying 6 mana from the command zone. Bringing it back, it's better be a really important thing, like Avacyn or something like that. But if you're doing that, then just run Diada, where you're ramping out of control from the self-mill effect and casting it early. Being able to pick and choose what you want. I think it'd still just be better. I don't know. Pass on this one too. Sorry. I need some water. I should have got beer for this. I underestimated how many cards there were. Moria and Tashar. What says Tashar from? I recognize that name, but I can't place the. Oh, it's this guy. It's the historic dude. Okay. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Much better. Much better. Do this card. Screw the last one. Do this one. It's much more open-ended. It's easier to dodge. So you would want to run. Oh, what is the name? Sundial the Infinite to end the turn. So you could keep like whatever it is you're bringing back, because you can't just like sacrifice it. You would need to have Sundial to really abuse it, but it's a cool way to do aristocrat stuff, I guess. I think this is the secondary commander for the Orzhov deck, or the Orzhov guy, which the primary commander I think is better, because you don't have to dance around the exile shenanigans with it. But it's a cast trigger, so, and it's historic, so you could cast a bunch of like cheap artifacts and just bring back a ton of stuff to the battlefield, then end the turn. There's like more potential here, but you have to jump through more hoops to like not lose those creatures. Omnath. Omnath, it was a good run, bud. I don't think I ever tried any of the Omnaths as a commander myself. I know this character is like dear to a lot of people's hearts, though. If you lose unspent mana, that mana becomes black instead. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal a card if it has 3 or more colored mana symbols and its mana cost. If you do, add 3 mana in any combinations of its colors and put it into your hand. If you don't, reveal it and put it into your hand. Oh, man. So at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you just get to put the top card of your library into your hand. and you can reveal it to get mana, basically. It's just like draw a card with extra steps. Better steps, don't get me wrong, but just more confusing steps. They could have just said draw a card. You may reveal that card or something like that and just make it like it just seems, I don't know, convoluted. Anyway, not losing mana, dope. Yes, very nice. Even though it's black, that's okay. That's totally fine. We can still utilize it, or we could just cast Chromatic Orrery and not have to worry about it. Easy. Wooburg, super open-ended. We can do whatever we want. Nice. I'm here for it. The whole 3 mana symbol things, I feel like you'll just get tied up into that. You're in Wooburg, and you're not losing your unspent mana. You will have so much mana. Who cares about this 3 mana set symbol nonsense? It's going into your hand one way or the other, right? Let me read it again, make sure I'm understanding this right. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, look at top card of your library. If you do, you make the mana, put it in your hand. If you don't, reveal it, put it in your hand. So either way you're getting the card is just whether or not you're getting extra 3 mana, which is cool. Like, you could do that. But I don't know. Is this commander good? I guess. Like, it's Wooburg, and you get the big part is just not losing the mana. That's really the only important part. The drawing the card is cool, and like getting the mana is cool, I guess. But I don't know where I don't know where the direction is. Like, what is the theme? What is the goal? It's Wooburg, and you can do whatever the hell you want. I guess that's all I gotta say about it. You could literally do anything. There is no direction. Other than the only direction is this 3 or more colored mana symbols. And that's optional. You don't need to do that. You're getting the card either way. It's just there to get the extra mana. So who cares? I don't know. You could build into that. Like, you could do like Void Run and Deny the Witch and all the ultimatums and the charms. And you could add all that shenanigans to play into that theme. Or you could just run Counterspell. Or you could just run your 1 mana removal spell, or you could just run your normal shit and be fine and just ramp and just hold up the black mana instead and have Chromatic Orrery. I don't know. I don't have much to say about the Omnath. I feel like it's so generic that it's not wowing. The art's really cool though, you know what I mean? Ortheon, Hero of Lava Brink, I think is how you pronounce it. I have not seen this one actually at all. I don't know what it does. 1 red, tap, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. Oh yeah, great. Another one. Another one of these. It gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step, activate only a sorcery. So this is another thing that would go with that Atali video, I guess. 6 red, create 5 tokens that are copies. Oh my god, they gain haste, sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. I think this is cool. Like, we make token copies of things. Great, thumbs up. We can make lots of token copies of things. Great, thumbs up. Is it abusable? There's probably some infinite mana loops we can do with this. When we make token copies of things and they're entering the battlefield, we need like Staff of Domination out. I think I always have to look this up because I always forget. Staff of Dom. They can untap creatures, right? Yep. Cool. So we pay 9 mana, create 5 token copies of Dockside Extortionist, make a fuck ton of treasures, put them into the staff, like 8 mana to untap Orthon, do it again, have infinite mana that way, and then what? I don't know. Blow people up with other things. Like, it's just another cool way to copy things and copy your Solemn, this would be creatures, right? Yeah. So this is probably like a Warstorm Surge deck or something like that. It's cool. It's flexible. You can build around it in multiple different ways, and it's kind of interesting. Holokonos, I think is how you pronounce this guy. Reach, transform him. Okay. Reach lifelink. Oh, this is the worm guy, whatever the worm's called. When it dies, you make a reach version and a 3/3 lifelink version. Cool. I don't really know what to say about it. It's a worse version of whatever that worm is whose name I'm remembering or whose name I can't remember right now. Dude, I need to like have dinner or something. We need to double time get through this. So I should have done this in 2 parts or something. Vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, exile target non-creature non-land card from your graveyard. Create a 2/3/2 red or white spirit creature token. Sacrifice a spirit or 1 red white tap. Sacrifice a spirit. God. Choose target card exiled with it. You may cast it. Not paying may have a spell you put in the graveyard. Put it on the bottom of its old library instead. Oh, there's so many hoops. Oh, God, why? Why do they do this? Am I... Like, it's not just me, right? Gotta wait to our end step. Oh, it's gotta be from our graveyard? Jesus. So we're in Boros. We have a 5-drop commander in Boros who has an end step trigger. And we need to have stuff in our graveyard. I guess it's like reanimation with hoops, man. Then we have to have a spirit. If that spirit dies, we're screwed. So if we use our 3/2 spirit for a blocker because somebody's actually doing something on the field that's relevant and attacking us, and it's block or die. We block. Then the next turn, we don't have anything to sacrifice unless we've done something else, I guess. I don't know, but it's cool that we can get whatever we want back. No, it's not even whatever we want. Fuck, it's not even whatever we want. It's non-creature, non-land. What? We can't even get our creatures back. Why couldn't it have just been a non-land card? You know what? Pass. Sorry. If I opened a pack and this was my rare, I'd be pissed. I hope somebody tells me. So please, somebody tell me what the use case is for this creature. Man, jeez, I don't know. Rankle and Torbrand. Flying, first strike, haste. When it deals combat damage to a player or battle, choose any number. Each player creates a treasure token. Each player sacrifices a creature. So the source would deal damage to a player or battle this turn. It deals double that much damage. It deals that much damage plus 2 instead. Oh, it's got first strike. I was going to say, how would that work? Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. Cool, I guess. It's very rankly. It's very Torbranny, I guess. We can ramp everybody, including ourselves. We can force people to sacrifice things. That's very Rankle-like. We can do extra damage. I suppose that's nice. It depends on if we're in Rakdos. Oh, this is a 5-drop too. Huh. You would need to be like a go wide Rakdos deck to really utilize that, right? Like you're not throwing big stuff. Because then the 2 extra damage is like kind of a oh well. But if you're like go wide Rakdos, then cool. Otherwise that last ability is kind of like whatever. Yeah. I mean, cool. I don't know. Take it or leave it, I guess. Better than the last one. So, Rashmi and Ragavan. Alright, so... What? There we go. Whenever you cast your first spell during each of your turns, exile the top card of target opponent's library and create a treasure token. Then you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost if it's a spell with mana value less than the number of artifacts you control. If you don't cast it this way, you may cast it this turn. Okay, cool. I guess. Dude, I think I got the lightheaded reading that, man. Oh, jeez. I don't know. Like, cool, I guess. It's weird thief. I know Ragavan is annihilating modern right now, or so I've been told. I don't play modern, but I've heard Ragavan is destroying the modern scene right now. Will this help that? Maybe. Cast your first spell each of your turns. We just get value that we could possibly cast for free. I feel like you'd be better just running a Tali, right? It's much slower thief ability. You don't get to choose. You don't even, it might even just be a land. You may cast, you can't even use it if it's a land. Yeah, just run a Tali. Fuck it. Like, I feel like you'd just be better off running a Tali. I don't know. What the fuck? Oh, I hit the Windows key. Okay. Rona. It's time. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, untap her. Then we can rummage. We can tap her the rummage. Then we can pay 5 in Phyrexian Black, the Transformer at sorcery speed to make a 5/5 Trampler. Whenever a source deals damage to her, that source's controller exiles a card from their hand at random. If it's a land card, you may put it on the battlefield under your control. Otherwise, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. This just kind of like screams shenanigans to me. And Dimir, is there fight spells? Is there a way to force fights? We would need to give her vigilance. Is this a Voltron commander? Is that the game plan? I guess. It has trample, so you just want to buffer? Dimir Voltron? Dimir Weird Thief Voltron. What the fuck? You gotta be kidding me. Whatever. Alright. Yeah. I mean, cool, I guess. Yeah. Take it or leave it, I guess. I don't know. Like, how would we abuse it? My instinct is to, you know, if you cast the legendary spell Rummage, I feel like the two sides are disjointed. They don't really. It's kind of like the Heliod, where the Heliod's front side cares about one thing and the backside kind of wants to do something a little bit differently. I guess it doesn't necessarily want to do things differently. It's just the way you would play it to be optimal would be differently. Here you want to be a legendary matters Dimir deck in order to do the rummage ability. Do you care about the, I don't know. It's whatever. It's a thief commander. I think I'd rather play Teysa though. Or not Teysa, Tasha. Shit. Tasha was pretty fun. She's like a really fun thief commander. I feel like she's better at it than Rona. Right? Yeah, I think, I think so. Otherwise, you're just kind of playing a Voltron threat, and if they block, you get value. This is kind of, I don't know. That's like kind of what it seems. All right. Saint Troft. and Rem Carlos, something like that. Whenever they enter, or whenever they become tapped, make a 1/1 red human creature token. If it's the first time this ability resolve, I don't know, it's one of these. If it's the second time, create a blue spirit version of it with flying. If it's the third time, make a 4/4 white angel with flying. And whenever you cast a spell that has convoke, untap it. Oh, this is part of that precon. Again, why doesn't it have access to green? Why? I'm mostly mad because I want to run Impervious Great Worm in the deck. That's mostly why I'm pissed off about it. But it really does not make sense why green is not in the convoke deck. It is so weird. This is cool. If you can jam and convoke, I guess. Would I rather run this over the other one? The other one was up here, right? Oh god, where is it? This one? No. Right? No. Where is it? Here it is. Ooh, maybe. So oh, we're almost done, thank God. Okay, so you make a ton of I'm trying to think which one would be better. I feel like this one is better. This one lets you convoke more in one turn because not only are you untapping it if you cast something with convoke, but you're making another creature that you can then convoke something with, as well as convoke something again with it. So like you can empty your hand faster. But this one refills your hand, lets you scry and draw. I feel like though it might not be as bursty or like as like aggressive as the other commander, I think you'd probably still want to run this one. It has convoke itself, so even though it's like a 6-drop, you still, yeah, like you can make it much cheaper. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to see what the rest of the deck is, depending on how many convoke cards there are. Like how often do we get this trigger? You know? Is like the thing. Because like the other one doesn't care if it's become tapped as part of the convoke. You could attack with it and make tokens. You know what I mean? And then cast a convoke spell, untap it, and convoke some more and stuff like that. Like it has value outside of the convoke. This doesn't really, except for like a Voltron threat in the air. So yeah, there's that. Okay. Next. Shalai and Halar. Flying Vigilance, whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature control, it deals that much damage to a target creature. This is kind of scary. That is terrifying. That is so terrifying because it's so easy to do. Like the original Shalai has an activate ability that can put counters on everything. So whenever one or more +1 counters are put on a creature you control. So I feel like this would cause confusion at the table. Someone's gonna be like, no, that's not how it works. It cares both about how many creatures are getting the counters and how many counters that those creatures are getting. So it's whenever one or more +1/+1 counters, but it's on a per creature basis. So if like we had the original Shalai out, we have 10 creatures on the field. We activate the original Shalai, we do 10 damage to an opponent. Well, actually, do we mix and match that damage? We do mix and match. So we have 10 damage or 10 instances of 1 damage, which we can mix and match to an opponent. It's very bursty. It's actually really cool. As a 4-drop commander who plays really well into +1/+1 counters, just in general, I think is awesome. It's unfortunate that it doesn't have access to the blue because you can't run Simic Ascendancy as an alternate win condition, and blue has lots of proliferate tech, and I think counters as well. Green has more counters, I think, than blue does. I'm not exactly sure on that. But green and white have access to lots of ways to put counters on things. I think red does too. We talked about this before. This is the, I don't think this is the main card. Is this the alternate of the other commander? Is this Naya? This color tree? I'm not sure. But this is cool. I think this is kind of scary, depending on how, like, Loyal Guardian just does burst damage. It's like really bursty. You're playing into a go wide strategy and you're putting counters on things, and then this just anthems them like through the roof. Kind of like Jetmir, where like Jetmir himself doesn't do a lot. Like he doesn't have to do things. You just play into the go wide strategy, and then Jetmir enables the go wide strategy, and then maybe commander damage too, even though it probably isn't needed. You could probably just kill them in regular damage, but commander damage is relevant, I guess, for Jetmir also. With Shalai and Halar, it's kind of like a similar scenario where with it's a little bit less open-ended because we not only want a go wide board state, but we want to put counters on those go wide board states. So it's not as easy to enable as Jetmir, but it is still really good, I think. And it sees itself as well, kind of like how Jetmir does. So like we put counters on Shalai, then it deals a bunch of damage to stuff, and with flying and vigilance we can get in with commander damage that way if we want to. So what cards are we putting in here? We're putting like Scepter of Celebration to make a super wide board state. We're putting the original Shalai to put counters on things in the Protector board state. We are putting in Loyal Guardian to put counters on a bunch of stuff. We're probably putting in Cathar's Crusade, even though it's an absolute nightmare to manage that card on the battlefield. It's definitely worth it. You probably just kill everybody. Like the second you make a bunch of creatures, somebody's dead, because there's a lot of instances of a ton of counters getting put on things. Proliferate tech, I guess, maybe. Probably don't need it though. It'd probably just be better off putting in tech that puts in go wide elements and the counters and just sort of ignoring the proliferate, I guess. But this is cool. This is one for the books. Excited to see how that precon looks out. We looked at Shouldred, Sadar Jabrazi, and Zalfir, I think. That's how you pronounce this guy. Oh, the Eminence guy. Yeah, Eminence is back. Fuck the haters, I say. Eminence is an awesome ability. People are just mad that it was so broken originally. The Eminence, I don't think Eminence itself is a broken mechanic. It was just too overtuned. Like they made it too powerful with the examples we saw of Eminence. Even the Dragon's Eminence ability, I don't think is super broken. It's just like a minor cost reduction, like one less for all of your dragon spells. Is good value, but it's not like insane value. It's pretty much just what's his name? Edgar. Like Edgar's was too much. That is like way too much. That is so fucking strong, especially because he has haste and he just like jam out stuff. But I say fuck the haters. Bring Eminence back. Keep making those Eminence cards. They're awesome. That's really what he does. Whenever you attack with one or more knights, if he's in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card and discard a card. No, it's shit. I would say this is an example of like they tuned it way down because people would see like Eminence, what the fuck? Because like, you know, their favorite content creators are like losing their mind over Eminence or something like that. It's too powerful. It's too good. And now they just make it so like you attack with a knight, you rummage once. I mean, like that's good value. If you're playing into the tribe, then you're pretty much like rummaging every combat, which is good value. That's nice. It's not like too strong. It's not like super weak. It's just nice to have, I guess, to be able to always rummage. Flying first strike. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return target knight creature token from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh. 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 That's super cool. That's super good. I might actually try Night Tribal. I think this is a cool Night Tribal commander. This is like the face of one of the precons, right? I think so. I'm not sure. But I think this is dope. Night Tribal is cool. I've never done it before because the only Night Tribal commander that I played was Sir Gwyn, who I played as an equipment deck instead, and not as the tribe. So I think it'd be fun to try this one out and just like do that. Like the eminence ability is cool. The combat damage ability is cool. Just the recur things, because it just has to be a knight. It doesn't care how large or small or whatever. It just cares that it's a knight. Does Maskwood work with this too? I don't know if Maskwood works in the graveyard. I know it works in the library. Oh, it does. Nice. Nice. Another card, another deck. Claps, dude. Round of applause, dude. Another deck that we can use Maskwood Nexus in. So we have Maskwood Nexus out and we can get our other utility things like Solemn Simulacrum or something like that back. So that's cool. Yeah, I think he's fun. Artwork looks badass too. Super sick. Let's check out the precons a little bit more. I'm not going to go over the precons in this though. What is the face card? You know what? I don't want to get distracted anymore. This is already going on longer than I expected. I expected to kind of lightning round through this a little bit faster. Whenever Slimefoot and Squee enters the battlefield or attacks, create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. All right, cool. I'm down. 1 and black, red, green. Sacrifice a sapling. Return this creature and up to one other target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Yo, that's lit, actually. I think that's cool. Yeah. Hey, I'm game, dude. Like that's cool. Like being able to like having your commander just have like some utility to just make extra saplings. Cool. Does the original Slimefoot better though? I haven't seen too many Slimefoot decks. I've seen them a little bit. Yeah, that other card doesn't exist. Whenever sapling dies, does 1 damage to each opponent you gain life. Ooh. I think this is better. Is there a reason? Is there a lot of red saplings? Hold on, I'm looking it up real fast. I think it's mostly a... Is there red saplings? I don't know if I've ever really seen them too much, to be honest with you. Artifact mutation. There are red cards that make saplings, but is there red saplings? Is there a reason to branch in the red for it? Looking like no. Looking like no. Yeah, there are red cards that make saplings, but there's not that many of those either. There's like, I think I've seen 3. But is there a reason to run the new Slimefoot over the old Slimefoot? The new Slimefoot lets you reanimate things from the graveyard and bring itself back. It can do that, right? Like you could get something else. Doesn't care what you get. And up to one other target creature card from your graveyard directly to the battlefield. Untapped. Activate only as a sorcery. You know, it's kind of funny that you can go infinite with... So if you have Phyrexian Altar, so Phyrexian Altar lets you sacrifice a creature and add 1 mana of any color. If you have... Oh, is it Siege Gang Commander? think it's Siege Gang. Yeah. So when Siege Gang Commander enters the battlefield, it creates 3 red goblin creature tokens. If you have that altar out, you have Siege Gang Commander, Slimefoot enters, and you have infinite tokens this way. Because you sack Siege Gang Commander, you sack Slimefoot to the altar, and you have 2 of your mana. Then you sack like 2 of the goblins you made, and you have the 2 other, and then you sack the Sapperling you make, and you bring back Slimefoot and the Siege Gang Commander, and you net 1 goblin every loop that way, right? Or is it more than 1? I think you net 2. No, it's just 1 because you need the Sapperling for the other clause. So you net 1 goblin, which essentially means infinite creatures and infinite mana. And then what? And then you just do whatever. Then you have haste and you kill everybody or whatever. So like, yes, this Slimefoot's better. This Slimefoot has the win con, the drain win con built right into it. It has generic costed ability to just make the tokens. So if you have infinite mana, you just win that way, assuming you have a sack outlet. You need to have infinite mana some other way though. You need to find some way to make infinite mana on top of that. And if you're going to do that, because those infinite mana loops wouldn't really need those infinite mana loops. What loop would you use? I don't know. I don't want to get into it too much, but you can do it. Those loops would also be like Gravecrawler loops or something like that, with like Pitiless Plunderer and shit. But then you would have infinite mana to make infinite Sapperlings and sack the Sapperlings to drain your people's lives and stuff like that. And you might as well just do Murin as your commander instead, or Teysa Karlov or something like that. And why even bother doing Slimefoot at that point? So I guess you could say the same with this Slimefoot, because like the Siege Gang Commander example, you're also not doing Sapperlings, so maybe it's a moot point. But it is cool that you could have a 3-card combo of Siege Gang Commander, this, and the altar to get infinite mana, infinite ETBs, infinite creatures. And if they have haste, then you win. So that's cool. I think this would be interesting to try. Whether or not as the head of the tribe, and if you're sticking strictly to the tribe, which one's better? Probably the old one's just more generic and plays into the drain. But this is cool that you can reanimate things, have access to another color, do some cool stuff. So I'm game. It's cool. Moving on though, Surak and Goreclaw. Trample. Other creatures you control have trample. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn. Sweet. Sweet. Seems very generic to me, I guess. Being able to give it trample and give everything else trample, cool. Thumbs up. Being able to give your large green creatures trample and haste, cool. Thumbs up. Giving them a counter, cool. Thumbs up. Like, cool, thumbs up is all I have to say. Very, very card, you know. It's not, if you're like a Timmy kind of like player and you just like playing big dumb creatures, then this is a fun commander for you. You have your haste enabler in the command zone, you have a growth in the command zone, or you have like a way to grow them, make them larger in the command zone, and you have a trampler enable in the command zone. You have everything you want in the command zone to do that strategy, and that's cool. I give it a thumbs up for that. Is it unique or like wowing? I don't know. Like, I'd rather play Baru Worm Speaker and like make a shit ton of worms and like go that route. This is much more generic and probably like easier to play off, but I don't know. Whatever. That's all I really have to say about it, I guess. It's nothing. It's not super interesting. Thalia and Gitrog Monster. First strike, death touch. You may play an additional land and each of your turns creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control into the battlefield tap. Lol. And whenever Thana and Gitrog monster attack, sacrifice a creature or land and draw a card. Cool, I guess. What's the strategy? I guess, is it lands matter? I don't think so. Well, maybe it is. I guess it would be. Why wouldn't it be? But if you're gonna do lands mattered, is there better commanders for it? Yeah. People, the only reason that you would play this over other lands matters commanders if you're doing lands matters is because of Thalia's ability that makes creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Like you're just playing it for the stacks piece, and then you're able to play additional lands on your turn, as well as like get a little bit of value when it attacks, which is cool. Thumbs up to that. First Strike and Death Touch is a nice combo. It's like a nice little like sprinkle on top for that. Is it worth $13 though? Hell no. At least in my opinion, I don't think so. There's things I'd much rather play like than this. That's just me personally, you know, to each their own. I think it is cool though. I think the Lands Matter players would find like a cool niche to break into to get away from like their Simic value engines for a little bit and like play something else. Like I think the Gitrog monster players would be welcome in having this, but like generally the Gitrog players, because Gitrog doesn't care when you sack them, right? Just that you sack them and he forces you. Yeah. So that's why Gitrog is good, is because like you just get that value whenever. It's not strictly tied to the trigger like this one is. So I don't know, maybe they won't switch to this even for Thalia. That's the reason I could see people switching though, is just for the stacksy element of Thalia. That's the only reason I could think of why you would switch to that version. We looked at Umbresk, we looked at Vorinclex, we have Yargul and Multani. The meme themselves, they're here. They're just an 18-6 for 6 mana. That's all you need to know. Like, you throw on Luxodon Warhammer and it's a one-shot, right? Luxodon Warhammer turns it into a 21-6 with Trample and Lifelink. And you one-shot people. Like, Yargul has always been like the meme Voltron commander. Because it's just this like dumb creature that you give trample and it's just huge. How big was the original Yargul? He wasn't like 18, was he? He was a 9-3. Yeah, so he was always just this like meme Voltron commander. And I feel like having a Golgari version of him that is an 18-6 for 1 more mana is good. That's a good deal. And then you have access to all of Green's shenanigans. So not only do you have access to Green's shenanigans, you have access to Golgari shenanigans. Like all the different reanimation effects, all the different trample effects. I still think if you're going to do a Voltron commander, it's probably just better to use Ghalta. It already has trample printed on the card and it's a 2-shot. Like, I mean, you could get better close to the 1-shot with Yargul, but like, I don't know, that's not even strictly true. And Ghalta, it's a Selesnya commander, so you have access to like True Conviction and like Flaming Fist and other double striking nonsense and stuff like that, and like white cards that you could add. But I don't know, I digress. You could argue it back and forth, I guess. I think this is a fun meme though, this Yargul. Like I think it's just it's just funny. I mean, like, he's not like the end all be all, but it would be fun to just build a list around him for the jokes and for the memes, and just and the flavor text is just hilarious. There's a YouTube video where somebody reads this like an over epic music, the flavor text, and it's really funny because he tries pronouncing whatever the fuck he is that he says. It's good. It's a funny commander to have, and I can't wait to see somebody play it. It's gonna be a good time. Zamone and Dina. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, and you can tap, sacrifice another creature to draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you control 8 or more lands, repeat this process once. I think that's dope. It's a little open-ended on where you want to take it. The sacrifice another creature to draw a card and then put a land, and then you can repeat the process if you control, if you've already done Simic things. It's kind of cool. I think that's cool. And then you just drain. I don't really think you're playing into the drain, right? The drain is a nice bonus, and you're not really playing for the sacrifice aristocrat outlet or even the land outlet. Is just nice utility. Your game plan is somewhere else. What's up, Arrow? How's it going, man? Your utility is just somewhere else, I guess. Like your game plan is doing something else, and Zamone and Dina help you get there. The win con is not in the command zone. I don't know. I don't have much more to say about that, I guess. I think it's cool. Like, I would be interested to see where people take this list. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about it. I guess you could Seedborn Muse and do this like every round you're draining. It's not even every opponent, it's target opponent. So even that is kind of slow. Even if you had Seedborn Muse out and you had, let's say you had Seedborn Muse and, oh, what the hell? Tangershoot Dryad, I think it is, that makes the Saproling every, there's Tangershoot Dryad and like 2 other cards that make something every upkeep. Dragon Broodmother, and something else that makes Saprolings every upkeep. So even if you had Seaborn Muse, one of those, and you were sacking that token every upkeep, then you're just draining that opponent for 2 life and then putting some lands from your hand onto the battlefield, drawing cards. It's cool. Is it like really good? I don't know, but it's cool. It's cool tech. I want to see if somebody can break it though. The last one. Oh, they finally made it. Zergo and Ojutai. Is how you pronounce it? I have no idea. Flying Haste. Has hexproof as long as it entered the battlefield this turn. Okay. Whenever one or more dragons you control deals combat damage to a player or battle, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest of the on the bottom of your library in any order, and then you may return one of those dragons to its owner's hand. The return is interesting. It's basically for 5 mana, we get to look at the top 3 and then put something into our hand. We get the bad brainstorm, shimmer possibility, whatever fucking blue card it is that does this effect. If a dragon deals combat damage to a player. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. Hold. Whenever one or more dragons you control deals combat damage to a player. Is it per player in battle? I think so. I think it's per player. Does it? All right, I'm not sure how the new battle mechanic works. Is it if there was like 5 battles on the field, regardless, let's just say they're all one player has 5 battles for whatever reason. And we have 6 dragons. If one dragon hits each of those battles and then the last dragon hits the player, do we get 6 triggers? I think so. I'm pretty sure. Then that's pretty good. I think Sultai is what this. Again, I don't know my color trios other than like Bant and Esper. I don't know the rest of them too well. Is this replace Mirim? No. Does this replace Ur-Dragon? I don't think so. That is a lot of value though. Assuming that there's lots of battles. So you're like a dragon deck and you're a battle deck too, I guess. You play more battles to get more triggers. Otherwise, you're just getting like what 1 to 3 triggers per combat, something like that. As a dragon tribal commander, I don't know. I'm not super inspired by it. I think it was go in the 99 of a dragon list. Like I would put this in my dragon list probably. Just like why not get some more value? We can even bounce one of the dragons for whatever reason. I don't know why we would do that, but we could. Maybe that we have ETB value from some dragons, like maybe Terror of the Peaks is out, and we want to bounce something to blast something with the Terror trigger. I don't know. Or Miram's out. We want to get more copies with it because we're in the Weeberg deck. Like we're in the Dragon list. Miram's out. We want to bounce another dragon to make more copies of whatever dragon, etc., etc. Like that's cool. As the commander, though, I don't know. I don't know if it's really worth it. I feel like it's cool in the 99, but I don't know if I'd run it as the commander. That's just my thoughts. But anyway, we're done. We did them all. We did them all. The Praetors are cool. Ones that I'm excited to build around, I think, are probably the Essica one. I want to check out the Essica one just to see how many creatures we can cast. Like how much of this value. We'd have to give them all haste somehow. Can we do that in Simic? Maybe. I don't know. It'd be interesting to look into. Doing like some CEDH Jin Cataxis stuff would be interesting nonsense. I feel like it's possible. I'm really surprised that I'm honestly surprised that he's the cheapest of the 5. All the Praetors would be cool. Maybe we can make videos on the different Praetors, who knows. By the time, if I released weekly videos, by the time I got to the 5th Praetor, we'd be like halfway through the next spoiler season. Because like Wizards just like shilling out product like there's, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the meme of there's this funny video of like our treasurer in the US, or just like using like a crank on like the podium of Congress, just shitting out money to like talking about like inflation. And that's like Wizards of the Coast with Magic cards right now. Just like they have like one of those like money guns, and they're just cranking it, just shilling cards to the player base right now. That's part of why I went live with this time, because like I'm not going to get through 3 or 4 of these, and the hype for this set will have dropped and we'll have moved on to the next product. Like that's literally why I went and did this live stream. So just so I could say my 2 cents about the cards before we move on. All right, but that's all of them. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. And